to galacticconnection.com, one of the most popular blogs on the World Wide Web today for alternative news. Stay tuned for the latest information on our world shift from enslavement to galactic involvement, as well as current intel on any blockages impeding us from our sovereign birthright. Knowledge and self-mastery are key at this time. Our commitment is to present you with the latest breaking conspiratorial articles, off-world messages, exopolitics, cutting-edge technologies and sciences, and also an ever-significant intertwining of spiritual support and metaphysical scope that one needs to dive down the rabbit hole in search for truth with balance. We are truly on the horizon of a new golden age filled with the promise for more love, worldwide peace, and accelerated intuitive skills, where every living being can exist in cohesion and abundance. It is whatever we envision and dream this new world to be. I say to you now, let's redefine the new world to the beginnings of our own precious heaven on earth. Galactic Connection is here to provide the pulse of Mother Earth through an eclectic range of interviews each Tuesday afternoon from 3 to 4:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Station 2 on BBS Radio, expanding your perspectives on how we can once and for all take back our freedoms, our joy, and our connection with our mighty I Am presence. Our intention remains true to connect hearts and minds everywhere in order to obtain global unity and galactic and universal acceptance. Our discussions will continue to cover anything to do with galactic society and our involvement with our galactic brothers and sisters. Our guests are experts in their fields, and our radio shows have been coined as some of the most thought-provoking out there. In addition to our daily blog, which runs 365 days a year, we also offer a realm of healing services such as our world-renowned implant removal processes, our spiritual past life clearings, our galactic violet ray alchemy from Alexandra, who shares in the lineage of Merlin, and other cutting-edge healing technologies. Check our site out at galacticconnection.com now, sending you a wave of light, love, and inspiration, and a personal hug and thank you for listening to our Galactic Connection radio show and visiting our blog today. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Alexandra Meadors of galacticconnection.com, and today is January 28th. Oh my God, where has the time gone? 2014, and this is my regularly scheduled radio show on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. on Station 2 BBS Radio. And today I have decided to invite back one of my favorite speakers, and that's James Gilliland. I feel it's a very appropriate time to have him back on to discuss some of the current things that are going on. I don't really want to spend too much time on his bio. You can always get a lot of that information on the landing page at galacticconnection.com up on the BBS tab. But just a little recap. James is a minister, a counselor, and he's also a very well-known lecturer. He even has a couple of books. Oh, gosh, not a couple, a lot of books. And he's very, very well known for his ESETI Ranch. If anybody has not been there, I highly advise you checking into it. It is an amazing experience. I keep hearing it from everyone else. It's my intention to get my butt up there soon. So anyway, James, I just wanted to welcome you again. Thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, and so I understand you're in Hawaii right now.
Yeah, I'm over in Maui, and I just finished a lecture at the Temple of Peace, and it was kind of nice because we only had like 3 days' notice, and the room was packed. It was a standing room only with people sitting on the floor and you know, lined up standing. It was quite amazing the response that we got. Nice.
Well, see, it shows your reputation precedes you.
Yeah, or it also shows that people are really hungry for this information, and they're ready to step up to the plate, you know, and get some things done.
And for those of you that are just getting on this radio show for the first time to hear James, he is very well known for being a total, just absolutely convicted light warrior. I mean, people are so amazed by his commitment to getting
the truth out and really firing people up to become more empowered. So, James, that's where I really want to begin with you. I understand you were down in Mexico, and you had mentioned on your newsletter that you ran into some pretty intense energies down there. I am hearing this across the board from a lot of the emails I'm getting, and I wanted to know, what are you feeling about why there's such an intensity now?
Yeah, it seems to be happening everywhere, and people are meeting their greatest challenges. And I think it's a combination of things. Is one, it's kind of the Earth is evolving, and she's moving to the next level, in her ascension process. So everything is coming up everywhere, and there's a lot more energy coming in from galactic plane, from other places in the universe, and we've got huge pulses coming in from Lyra and all these other systems that we keep getting these huge gamma ray bursts, and that's changing things. Our fields are down, and more cosmic energies are coming in, and the sun's been doing its thing. So it's a combination of things that are happening, and what I'm seeing right now is that the dark arts and even the unseen energies that they work with, the unseen negative energies, are really kicking up, and it's getting really crazy because they're scrambling to hold on to their network, and their network, the old grid, you might say, or the Archon network, everybody has a name for it, is just being torn asunder. It's falling apart, and they're doing everything to retain their power and wealth. But the problem is they gained it at the expense of others. So it's just by universal law, they're not going to be able to maintain those kingdoms.
It's true, because they're getting pummeled on every corner of this planet.
Yeah.
And every day I'm just getting that much more excited because you can really see the cracks. They're becoming much more evident. What is your feeling about this whole thing with HSBC today? Did you hear about that?
No, because I've been kind of out of the loop here, but no, I mean, what's the deal? I haven't...
Well, basically what hit, and this was on a legitimate, news article, and that was that HSBC is now really not making available funds to specific amounts of money to existing clientele in specific locations. And then on top of that, what hit was that the Bank of China is no longer making certain cash amounts available either.
Wow.
This was pretty big.
I did hear, even on a smaller level, that they said that there were people trying to pull their money out, for certain things and getting large amounts of cash, and they were like interrogated as to, and some of them couldn't get it, so.
Yeah, and I think what really hit me, being an economics major, was I watched a video that was all in Chinese. Okay, it was from a Chinese mainstream media, and one of the comments that was made that was translated in English said something about the how did they say it? The retraction of the money supply, and I immediately got a red flag because people don't realize that the reason that we experienced 1929, where 2/3 of the population basically starved to death, is because they pulled the supply of money back, and that's what they were basically saying on this program. Now, I'm not saying that 2/3 of the population is going to die. Please, people, don't misunderstand me. But what I am noticing is something really major has changed within the banking community.
Well, definitely. I don't know what the end result of all of that, but I know the banking community is not a sustainable program. That whole community, and especially with the massive bailouts, and the extreme, the dispersal of wealth, the way it's going on right now. I was listening to this one guy talk, and he says, that is the most insane and sick practice you could ever imagine, is have somebody sitting on trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
What do you need trillions of dollars for, or even billions of dollars? I mean, that establishes your character right there. If you're not using those funds and that money to help humanity and the earth, and with the ascension process, that right there, that establishes your character and what you're all about. And people need to take a good hard look at that, and also look behind the lamestream media. They said, this entrepreneur is doing this, or like Gates is doing this and Gates is doing that. I say all these things and I look at what he's doing and it's actually the opposite of what they're saying. So, yeah, he's saving children, with immunization. And then you look at the statistics and you find out, like in the case of polio, there was 12 cases of polio, and then the next thing you know, you find out there's 45,000 people either crippled or dead from polio after the immunizations went out.
Yeah.
Yeah, things of that nature. And you just look at this and you go, this is about as sick as it gets. We need to really look at these people and their agenda. And I know over in Hawaii, they're having a big battle. I had Margaret Willey, who was great because she wrote the bill against the GMOs to get them, to ban the GMOs. And I had her on the show, and they were waffling on whether the mayor was going to sign it. And I said, okay, everybody. And I put her on both of my shows. And I said, you got to get up and call the mayor and get after it, And I guess she went on some other shows, too. And it put enough pressure on the mayor where he actually did sign it.
Good.
So there's
fantastic.
Yeah, so there's a little victory there, but they want to go further. And on Maui here, they're having meetings actually, I think today and tomorrow on that about the GMOs and trying to stop them here on Maui. So it's quite interesting, but they're scrambling. Everybody's finding out who they are, what they're doing, what they're growing, and they're pretty ticked off about it. Especially the locals here. So I think we're in the middle of I think America's going to have its own Arab Spring, and whether that revolution is peaceful or otherwise, I'm really hoping it's a peaceful revolution. But it's a necessary entity. It's going to happen, and hopefully it can be done peacefully.
Yeah, and it's a cleansing of that old program of, the government is my mommy, Seriously.
Yeah, you've got a dysfunctional mommy. If that's
yeah, I mean, come on. I remember having conversations with my parents a long time ago saying, I just don't understand you guys. You keep talking about how the government is here to support you when you get older, and they've set up all these programs, and I'm like, but don't you get it? Don't you get why there's, it's not like the government does anything for you unless there's a hidden agenda.
Oh, yeah. The day about what about all the people, where'd all the money go from the people that never collected Social Security, the people that died or the people that just didn't need it and never, you don't hear about those figures. So, all of these programs are just siphoned off.
Oh, yeah, they're siphoned off into the war and drug smuggling.
All that stuff. Yeah, it's all siphoned off until people realize that, I listened to I just heard an interview with John Lash and another guy, an Irish guy. I can't remember his name.
He's good. I like Lash.
But together, it was amazing what they said, and they just nailed it. They said, we have some pathological predators, at the top of this hierarchical ladder. When you climb the ladder of power and wealth and get up to the top, these people are just pathological predators, and we have to treat them as such and deal with them on that level. And it's quite an interesting interview. It's pretty intense, but, I didn't finish it. I need to listen to the second part of it, but, it's pretty amazing, and people need to rise up and take a good hard look at what's going on. And, as we said in the other shows, people say, oh, you're, fear porn, you're being negative or whatever else. And I said, no, I love humanity and the earth. And because of that, I'm pointing out some things that are going on that we need to take a good hard look at with brutal honesty. And we can't just sit on a rock and eat goji berries and do yoga and think that everything's going to be okay. It doesn't work that way.
Well, not only that, the intensity of the surfacing of the secrets and the mystery and the subterfuges, it's going to become more and more intense until such time people take action. Period.
Yeah, it's simple.
Very simple.
I think even, Jesus said works without deeds, words without deeds are dead, and the same thing. It's like, thoughts without action is the same thing. It's all part of the process. We have to work body, mind, and spirit, and our physical bodies are being assaulted on a huge scale by the chemtrails, by the GMOs, by the Gulf oil spill, the core exit, now Fukushima. All of these things have been orchestrated. These aren't accidents.
No.
And until people realize, who's behind all this stuff and the agenda and how all these things fit right into the Illuminati, New World, whatever you want to call these people, the controllers, and they fit right into their agenda, then they're going to see the big picture and follow the ladder up. As you go up the hierarchical ladder of power and wealth, you get, to some very sick pathological predators, and those people are actually controlled by unseen forces that do not like humans. They would like to see most of humanity gone.
And the majority of them are off-world.
Exactly. Yeah. And people have a hard time with that. I just heard a great interview with Michael Salla, and I think it's Jerome Corsi, but he has more of a little religious spin on it, but they're spot on. And when they're talking about how we have been hijacked by this Nazi regenerate ET regime, and they're spot on, and people have a hard time. They can't understand that, but if they look at the history of the earth and what's really happened, when we went over there and supposedly won the war with Germany, we took the best of their best and all of their people and brought them over and established, set them up in NASA, and we also set them up in, we programmed our CIA exactly the same way they did, the same program, and so these alphabet agencies, and a lot of these have been infiltrated by these same groups because they were so good at what they did, and unfortunately they moved into positions that they shouldn't be in, and so we have to take a long, hard look at that. And the same thing, the same unseen energies that Hitler was involved with are still at play now, the archons.
Well, the only thing I would disagree with you on is not even necessarily infiltrated, but the entire Nazi movement literally just took over the military.
Oh, yeah.
Just literally took over the research and development. This is where you have your Rand Corporation, your Tavistock Institute, all that stuff. They didn't go down to South America like a lot of people think and just kind of do their thing down there. No. They literally made an alliance with the American government. And
the heads of the CIA, there's two key people. I forgot their names. I think it's the Dulles brothers or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's some other people were involved in that, but they took all of Hitler's mass amount of wealth that he amassed, with the wars and invested that in the stock market and other things, and basically took over a huge portion of our own stock market and other industries and things like that, and continued to run that empire right here.
Exactly.
Grandpa Bush was heavily involved in that, and he was brought before Congress, before the same thing, and told him, he had to get rid of some of his assets and things. So it was quite interesting. But, the history, if you just look at the history, everything got moved. It didn't get destroyed. Nothing ended. It just got moved.
Yeah, it was like a lateral chess move. And a lot of people say, oh, that's conspiracy theory, which drives me nuts because, number one, if you define conspiracy, it's two or more people, speaking about something in the back room and planning to do something behind closed doors, which is the definition of the government.
Yeah.
Okay? And theory, there's nothing theoretical about it because there's a ton of evidence to show that it's not theoretical anymore. It's evidential.
No, this is history. I mean, this is history. It's factual. The evidence is overwhelming. And most of it goes back to the big coup with Kennedy. That was a coup. And when they took over, Kennedy stood up to him. And when they took over there and assassinated Kennedy, from then on, that same group, just got in charge of everything. And we just went downhill from then on. And,
you brought up the chemtrails. You and I talked off air regarding that. What do you feel is the reason why there's been such, in my estimation, there's been a radical increase in the chemtrailing in the last 7 days in particular? I've heard it from all over the world, but in particular here in Southern California, we went from kind of a respite period for a while. We were going, wow, there's like blue skies. I can actually see the stars, And now they've gotten very tricky. They do a lot of stuff at night, but they literally are just blazing the skies like in the old Bush days.
Yeah. I think they're giving it their last shot. They're way behind on their program, and they haven't been able to turn everybody into neutered zombie robots yet, which is their ultimate goal. And so they're just really kicking it on full steam ahead. And that's what it looks like. And people need to pay attention to that, because I've gotten into discussions, and I'm actually hanging out with Michael Murphy over here on the islands. So,
yeah, good.
And talking to him a lot about it. And I told him, we were talking about it, I said, we just have to get back to basics. And it's very simple, like barium, bad. Aluminum, bad.
Yeah, no kidding.
Strontium, bad.
Exactly.
It's not that complicated, and all these other little biologicals and everything else that are coming down are not good. They're not in our highest and best good. And it doesn't take rocket scientists. And I think, like a lot of people's intellects are running amok, and there's a lot of disinformation in there, and they're trying to steer it off and saying, they're trying to block Russia from hitting us with their HARP technologies, and so we're doing it to save the people. So actually you're going to kill off the masses eventually and put them all on timers and totally collapse their immune system, and to save them from some Russian device. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Nobody's actually paying attention. They say global warming. Oh, we're doing it to stop global warming. Well, the problem with that is the Earth is cooling down.
Exactly.
And there's record low. Some people say we're moving into a mini ice age. And I know over here in Hawaii, it's really cold. It hasn't been this cold in a long time. And right now, it's just been pouring rain, just incredible rainstorms going on. So the weather here is definitely not, it's not picking up. It's not global warming here.
Do you think that, going back to what you said about the chemtrails and blasting our immune systems and that kind of thing, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday about this, and I had to laugh, because as hard as they are working at trying to take us out in any way, shape, or form they can, biologically, I'm saying, there is something to be said, especially from my perspective as a practitioner working with homeopathy and essences and alchemy. I definitely see our bodies just becoming stronger and stronger. I mean, there gets to be a point, James, where the body is so brilliant that it will build the immune system to counteract that which it's getting blasted with. Mm-hmm. And I understand there's a lot of garbage out there, like Morgellons and things like that, which I do want to talk to you about. But there's also the flip side of it, which is the miracle to all of this is the more they've been doing this, it's almost as if the bodies on the planet are becoming more and more armored.
And, too, it's like, I know you guys, I guess it's okay to talk about the implant removal things that you're doing and the other oils and things like that, which I can't wait to check that one out.
I know. I can't wait for you to get your package.
Yeah, experience that myself. But there's also other things happening where new healing technologies are coming out at the same time.
Yes.
And the people that are paying attention, that are awakening, are having access to these new technologies. And it seems like the people that aren't are just going to be, the wheat's going to be separated from the chaff. So, the people that are just going to stay stupid and not align themselves with this higher consciousness and energy and not wake up, unfortunately, are just going to be weeded out. But that's not a natural process, unfortunately, though. The people that are doing the weeding are not, they're inhuman, let's say. They're just not. They're definitely not working in our highest and best good, although some think they are, but they've been duped into believing that. But the bottom line, this Morgellons thing is they've tried everything to cure Morgellons, and it's just not working, and everybody's coming up with these new cures and that cure, and I've experienced it myself. I had dark field.
Really?
Yeah, and looked at my blood, and the guy goes, "Oh, man, you've got," they were telling me I've been hit by everything. And I've had radionic treatments and things like that, and they just said, you've been hit by every chemical, every nerve agent, every ELF wave, everything that people.
You must be doing something right, James.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're still walking, and I do take a hit, and my body right now is recuperating from some of that, some of the hits I've taken. But they're coming out with some new things now with Morgellons, where they ping it with an EMP pulse.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's taking it out, is to build these EMP pulse generators. And if you go to morgellonscure.com, I think it's MORGELLONS cure.com, and check that out. They actually give you the plans, and I think everybody should have one of these in their basement and subject all their friends to this and build these things everywhere, because we really need to get this out of us, because it is turning us into an antenna as this stuff takes over. It's, the scientists I know that looked at this object, they said this is Satan's dream, is what they called it.
Yeah.
This is the most hideous thing. And, I think about, okay, first of all, who would even create such a thing? And second of all,
Exactly.
who would implement it?
Yeah,
And we have to look at that, about what's going on. Who would create these things first off, and who would implement them? And when you find out that how many scientists, I guess they're bioengineers that were working for the government, have been knocked off lately because they know what's being created and what's going on.
Well, God, weren't there they took out 22 of them 3 months ago or 4 months ago, something?
Oh yeah. I mean, the numbers are just going up like crazy, and you look at these people's history, and they all work for the government, and they work for in the biowarfare, programs and things like that.
It's interesting you bring this up. I got to tell you the story. Hopefully she doesn't mind, but there's an individual that works for one of the governmental-oriented labs, let's just say that. And she contacted me about some bizarre thing that happened to her. And, when I scanned her and tapped in myself with the information that I was given, it was totally apparent to me that all of the employees that work at this laboratory are actual guinea pigs themselves, and they don't even know it.
You look at the the Batman thing that happened, with the murderer there. He came straight out of those labs.
Yeah.
And he was definitely part of that mind control program. He was there working for them, studying it, doing it, and he became a victim of it himself. And if you look at the guy's eyes, his eyes, I mean, he's just pure crazy. When you look in his eyes, you go, what did they do to this guy? He is just,
they so mutated his DNA that he can't even be human.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also going to say, my husband and I have been working on the exact thing that you brought up, by the way, since about '97. We've been putting together a alternative quantum field healthcare system.
Nice.
And we're tweaking it, and it involves everything that you can imagine. Your orgon, your scalar wave, your 0 point, your tachyon, your you name it. It's an all-encompassing thing. So when you look at it through that perspective, there truly is nothing that we cannot cure. And I
agree.
And I mean, seriously, and I'm saying that from the standpoint of I'm not going to go out on a limb where, the FDA is going to go, oh, you're trying to cure something. What I'm trying to say is the body is so brilliant. It is so incredibly brilliant. And if we are able to really get the way quantum physics works with the body, it's a no-brainer, James.
Oh, yeah. I've worked with people that are actually working in the quantum field.
Totally.
And it's amazing what they've come up with. And they've come up with this nano platinum and gold and things of that nature. And then they use that to actually create an antenna for the higher conscious energy of the quantum field. And I've watched people, with certain diseases just heal up in 2 days, which is unheard of. And these things you have to have a major surgery for, to cure these things. So, and they have these other little devices that they strap onto the person right over that area. So there's a lot of things coming out, but a lot of these guys are on the run. I mean, they can't, they can't set up shop, or they can't even be in the United States.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But you know what? It's starting to diminish. And the reason I say that is, look back, say, even 10 years ago. Somebody as harmless as Hulda Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Remember her?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean harmless, not because she wasn't just an absolute amazing contributor to alternative health and was able to document everything, chemically. But, she wasn't getting out there, ragging on the government or anything like that. And they made her life absolute hell. They chased her into Mexico. They shut her down a couple times. Guess what? People are still taking her products.
Oh, yeah. I have some of her products. I have the zappers, and I have the latest one. And
right.
And a lot of things like that. So,
and isn't it true, James? It's very much based on basic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's pretty basic. I mean, a lot of the Rife technology and the other things, and they're expanding on that now. There's no reason. We have everything we need to conquer disease. Even poverty. We could have totally fuelless energy right now. I know people that have devices that they can shut down these nuclear reactors like tomorrow and put these devices in there to run the dynamos, and it would run them forever. No fuel, nothing. So
right on.
We have that technology right now. We could shut all this down, and we really have to, because those are all ticking time bombs. People have not really looked into this, but the bottom line, if the grid goes down, all those nuclear reactors become nuclear bombs, and massive nuclear bombs, as we've seen in Fukushima. And if the grid goes down, they've only got maybe a week's worth of diesel there and generators to run, if the generators survive whatever takes the grid down. But that being the case, let's say the grid does go down, you're not going to be pumping gas. All the highways can become gridlocked. And how are they going to get the diesel over to these reactors to keep them running, to keep the water pumping, to keep them cooled down? It's just insane. The safeguards are not there to have another Fukushima, and in each one of these reactors is a ticking time bomb. So
yeah, it is. And the other thing I think that we need to remember is we would not be as far along today if we did not have intervention from our star families and our galactic assistants. There's just no question about it.
I have photographs from NASA that show ships parked right in front of the sun. And when the sun throws off a kill shot, a huge, massive flare, they've actually extended their fields and blocked it.
Wow.
Took the hit. And these are NASA photos. And so, a lot of people go, what do ETs have to do with me and everything? And I said, well, you'd probably be in the dark ages right now if it wasn't for them, assisting us and helping us to get through these shifts and changes.
Oh, my God. Please, can you send me that link? I'd love to put that up on my site for everybody.
Yeah, it's if you go to eSETI, in any of my talks, my recent talks, I actually show those photographs and talk about, any of the talks I've done at the conferences that we have there. It's in there. And then there's a lot of other amazing speakers, too, that have talked about similar things. So all those DVDs, are there. I can probably I'll shoot you a couple pictures.
That'd be great. I'd love to put that up there. And then I can just divert them over to your website. But,
yeah.
Hey, James, tell me, what is your feeling about the sun and the fact that it's supposedly already flipped or is in the process of flipping?
Well, the North Pole flipped already. The South Pole is just hanging on for some reason. It didn't flip. And, which should have sent a huge, kill shot towards us, as it does every 11 years. We should have had another Carrington effect or something similar, but it didn't happen. And there was other things involved. I don't know if you've heard about it, but there was another conspiracy, that they call that, where there was some nukes that disappeared, and the nukes that were disappeared and the callers for those nukes were set up to be EMP blasts, and that were designed to take down the grid. And there was a plan to actually blow those off and knock the grid down at the same time this pulse came in to take us out. But by the same group, the same Illuminati New World Order group.
Correct.
And a lot of people ask, they can't wrap their mind around why they would do that. Why would they take down the very people that they've dominated or controlled or things like that? And there's two reasons for that. One, they're totally set up. They don't care. They're all ready to go. Two, when the people wake up to who they are and what they've done, they're the enemy. They are the enemy. They are so afraid of us waking up in mass and figuring out who they are and what they've done that to them now we're not a commodity. We're not cattle anymore. We're the enemy. They're very afraid of us because we are waking up.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at the Ukraine and Bulgaria and Egypt and Greece. People are just not taking it anymore. I mean, it's gotten to the point where they have so destroyed the country of Greece. It's just repulsive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, look what they did in Libya. You know, they totally demonized Gaddafi, but when you really do the research, you know, the guy, everybody there had a home, they had an education. If they had a kid, they were given like $5,000 or $7,000 or something like that. They all had a vehicle. You know, they had a really extremely high standard of living there. And he was doing all these massive water projects and everything, you know, to help out the people in his country. And he you know, went over the edge there is he said, hey, we're going to go on the gold standard and I'm going to unify Africa and we're all going to, you know, get our own monetary system going and kick out the international banksters. And that's the whole reason why we went into Libya.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Al-Qaeda, you know, Al-Qaeda was there to do that. You know, and people, I don't know why people can't put two and two together. If Al-Qaeda supposedly took down the trade center, they're the enemy. So now why are they working for us and why are we sending them arms if they're supposedly the enemy? And if you really do the research, they weren't the ones that took down the trade center. They were Egyptian, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and, you know, it just goes on and on. Like everything that we're shown and told is just a big story, a big lie. And when you look behind you know, you pull the curtain back, you know, and you look behind the curtain, you know, you'll see a whole different entity standing there at the controls, and it's not who you think it is. And as I said before, you know, we do have just several families and, you know, that own all the corporations and the banks and everything else. And then above them, you've got some unseen energies that they've sold their souls to. And these beings do not care whether we live or die. They'd like to see all of us in pain and suffering. They feed off of that.
Exactly.
And that is the answer. That's the third answer is why would somebody do something like this? You know, why would you really think about it? I always tell people, is it a human act to just level a whole city and kill all the men and women and children like Fallujah and some of these other places indiscriminately, just totally level a whole city? When you give orders to do things like that and kill over 1 million, you know, people over there in Iraq and things like that, or I think it's more than that. I don't know how many people they've killed.
Oh, it's like a gazillion. And if you think about the way that they're approaching it through the drones, so that the individual that actually might have a conscience can't see what they're really doing. And, you know, the children and the families that are being taken out, hundreds. I mean, there's so many complaints in Pakistan. And
well, they do double taps, too. People don't realize that, but they'll take out, there's a wedding, and there might be the possibility of one so-called person that doesn't agree with their system or going against the government, right? So they'll take out a whole family, and not just a family, but all their ancestors and everything else. They're all together. They're at this wedding. They'll take out the whole group just to get one person that may or may not be there. And then after they do that, and all the women and children and everybody are laying around dismembered and torn to bits and half alive and everything, when the first responders show up, the ambulances and everybody else, they hit it again. They do a double tap, and that is like beyond sick. That is not human.
Well, and the other thing, James, is not only is it not human, but we have to understand as a planetary unification perspective, it is literally the soulless ones, the heartless one. Why do you think they're called blue blood? You know, why do you think they're called reptilian?
Exactly.
Okay?
You know,
they do not have red, warm blood coursing through their veins. They don't. Yeah.
And it's very obvious right now. And that's what I tell people. They go, well, you're really putting me on a downer. You know, you're really putting, you know, I go watch that movie V. You know, it's.
I love that movie.
Yeah. You know, it's like, right, they spell it all out, exactly what's going down. The only thing, they don't go far enough with it. They don't tell you the real forces behind all this stuff, but they do show you the psychopaths that are running the country and their mindsets and things like that. It's covered very well, you know, in that movie.
Well, the thing is, though, this should not be depressing people. This should be catalyzing people to get off their couches. This should be empowering people to start seeing all the incredible changes that are already starting to happen. I mean, for example, okay, this is small, but it's big. There are quite a few countries now that have rejected all GMO products that come from the United States.
Exactly.
Okay, that's huge.
And you really think about it, it's like all of these alternative talk shows out there that have been covering this that, believe it or not, a lot of these people are listening to are the ones that really nailed this down and brought all this information up into the light.
Yeah.
The real information, the mainstream media didn't do it.
No.
And, so basically it's that, and it's just the network. It's the human network of the people that do really care about humanity and the earth that is rising up to make these things happen. And that's what needs to happen. We need to rise up and take a good, long, hard look at our leadership and every institution and look at what they're doing, look at their history, what they have done, and just make a decision that I'm not going to participate anymore in this. I'm not going to involve myself. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to start standing tall and stand in my own divinity and start saying it like it is and telling, everybody around me what's really going on. And that's what needs to happen right now.
I think people are still comparing us to the days of like the 80s where, good God, if you had a phone conversation about this stuff, because I can relate. I remember back then, my life was threatened and everything else. And it was a scary time, James, but I don't feel that intensity now. There's far more light on the planet. There's far more protection on the planet. There's far more compression of light on the planet, which is compressing, the darkness as well. So they're having to cope with their own crap just like we are. This isn't like surfacing, we don't have to deal with all of our shadows and surfacing and our own garbage that we haven't coped with more than they do.
The thing about universal law, these people think they're beyond that. They think they're beyond karma. They think they're beyond action, reaction. The problem is that their attitudes and emotions and their actions are all in their fields. They're holding on to all of this energy. And that puts them in a very dense frequency. And that frequency is not frequency specific to where the earth is going. So they can't continue.
No.
Their reality, their kingdoms, even their physical bodies cannot continue with where the earth is going. And so it's a no-win situation. It doesn't matter if I'm here or not, or you're here or not. It's going to happen. We all need to do our part to help as many people as we can to get through this shift. And people say, well, why do you hate these people? Why do you have so much hate in your heart for these people? I don't. And I don't fear them either. And as a matter of fact, I feel sorry for them because what they've painted themselves into a corner. And the only way out is to totally shift their energies and their resources and everything into the awakening and healing process. And that is their only way out. And these other beings that are not going to shift in that direction are going to be taken out. And they're in the process of being taken out, which is quite interesting because we brought in one of these beings, and we were talking to the original Anunnaki, the ones that still operate under universal law and that have the Council of 12 with 6 men and 6 women. Well, they returned, and they're calling forward the fallen ones, the fallen Anunnaki that they left behind that got into turf wars and created all the religions, and that's where we got the image of the bearded god from, these guys. And they also made alliances with, Marduk made alliances with the reptilians and some of the regenerate ETs. And now they're putting it into that along with the other star nations that are getting involved, which are our ancient ancestors. They are the temple builders. So they are all returning now, and they're doing a huge cleanup process. And they told me they have about 70% of the recall finished, and they've got about 80% of the real nasty regenerate ETs taken care of, and it's just going to continue. I don't think they have much longer to continue here, as well as the dark hearts. They're not going to be able to function here either as well.
Well, and I'm really surprised that you hear that from people, that they think you're so full of hatred towards these guys, because I don't pick up that at all from you. What I do pick up on is the fact that you're just trying to really point out to people the reality of this situation and recognize that we're in the driver's seat. I mean, we have more power now than we've ever had before. We just have to recognize it, number one. Number two, one thing I'd like to bring up and remind people is Kober mentioned, the last time I interviewed him, James, he mentioned that the major archon of the Vatican was going to finally be brought down.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty huge. For him to come out and say that, something really major must have gone down with the light forces. And some sort of negotiation or whatever. I mean, I don't know what it's required because they don't talk about it. There's too many lives on the line. But, to hear that and then to see some of the ramifications that are going on in the financial system, instead of looking at everything and going, oh, my God, the sky's falling, just look at it and realize this is exactly what we really do want. It's not our system. This is not the system we would have ever built. We would have never built a system where people are dying of starvation and there's territorial wars and, people getting blown up by drones. I mean, that's not us. Why do we want that? We don't want it. We want it to die.
I mean, even our own military, the people that were duped into believing that they're serving God and country, which are actually serving the corporations, in their quest to control and steal all the natural resources, even in sovereign countries, are waking up and realizing that, they've been injected with they've been experimented on, they've been injected with everything under the sun. Some of them were put on timers, and then they have their benefits taken away after they've been set up and they've been exposed to, the Gulf War and the depleted uranium and all those other things that are happening that have been done to the troops. And they're all starting to figure things out too, thank God. So, and so that needs to happen as well. They needed to wake up and get back aligned with their oath, as well as anybody who's sworn, in to serve the country, whatever agency you're involved with, is we have to get back and realize we all took an oath to serve the people and the Constitution, not the corporations. And when we do that, we can put an end to this tyranny, and this Gestapo program that's being put into place. I mean, we just need to pull the plug on it because all these things are being financed, by us.
Yeah.
And we're participating in our own demise, and we need to put some heavy pressure on there saying we're not going to support this anymore. And any leadership that does support this, you're out.
James, tell people what is the best solution for them to feel like they're taking some sort of action, even if they perceive it to be something really small and minute.
There's so many things we can do. One, we need to educate ourselves because consciousness is cause. So we need to, on the level of consciousness, we need to really get in touch with our higher self, our main teacher and guides, or make our own personal God connection, whatever that may be to you. There's many ways of doing that through meditation, through getting out in nature, getting away from things and sit down and shut up and tune in, It's very simple. That's one of the best ways to do it. Or there are some teachers that can transfer that energy to others and help them out, but I would be very wary there because if a teacher is not empowering you to make your own personal connection, then you're giving your power to them.
I agree.
And there's a lot of that going on out there. I'm just blown away because I see a lot of these gurus and they put on the robes and they wrap the towel around their head and they spew out the same old nonsense, which is part of the program, which keeps people enslaved, and disempowered. And everybody's worshiping these people rather than going, they're being external again and putting all their energy outside of themselves or waiting for this guy to tell them what to think, how to behave, what to do. And they're not going within and connecting with their own unique soul purpose and figuring out, who they are, why they're here, and getting clarity on what's happening all around them. And that's really important right now. There's so many things, we can learn how to heal unseen negative influences. If we did that in mass, it would be great. We can call on these angelic realms, the ascended masters, the higher dimensional beings, the ultra dimensionals. We can call on all these beings for help, which I think is so important right now because we cannot, I hate to say it, but this has gotten so bad. I don't think it's fixable on this level. We're going to need some extreme help, some extreme technology to turn this thing around, this planet around. And they're waiting.
Yeah, they're
all just waiting. They're saying, make the call, set the intention, Rewrite your contract, your agreement. Get very clear with who you are, what you want, and ask for help and start going forward in that direction. That is so important right now because they have the technology. Once we've gained the wisdom and enough of us wake up, that critical mass or 100th monkey, it's going to shift. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now. And on the physical level, we really need to start seeking out, a lot of these alternative healing methods, as well as get very close to the ground with everything you do. Take your shoes off, walk on the ground, do your practices, whether it be yoga or qigong or something. That's part of this. It's all part of it. And also, too, when you eat close to the ground, eat organic. Mm-hmm. Stay away from all the processed foods, and your water is really important. There's some healing waters out there, like one of the guys I work with created this crystallized oxygen water where he actually crystallized oxygen and stabilized it, and he puts it in a microhydrant, and that's Langenberg water, if you want to check that out.
I just bought the most kick-butt water system, and it works through scalar wave, and it has like a specific ray of light going through it. It's just, it's incredible.
I just heard about that.
Yeah, it's just the most cutting-edge thing, and we're really happy with it. We love it.
Yeah, I'll have to check more into that. Actually, today I just heard about that, and I was going to look into it. But I know this other water, it's like a whole array of technology to create this oxygen water. It's very complex, and it's out of this world. And, oxygen's the highest systemic antibiotic you can get.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, increase your blood oxygen and raise your pH. Cancer's anaerobic. It'll back out of your system. So, and all these little viruses and bacteria just explode on contact with this crystallized oxygen. So I really suggest that, and there's other technologies I need to look into, like the one you're talking about. I'm sure there's a myriad of ways of cleaning up our water, and there's some new technologies now, and I can't go into detail, but we have technologies now where we can take polluted water, run it through a system. It'll come out as healing water, and on the other end of it, it takes the pollutants out and actually burns them to generate electricity in a plasma generator, and it generates an enormous amount of electricity. It runs itself, and it also cleans up the water. So
right
you have
on. That's awesome, James.
Situation. So I know that's coming out right now. There's a lot of other technologies that are coming out right now to clean all these things up, and some of these guys know how to negate radiation. We've known how to get rid of radiation, the waste, for a long time, but the problem with that is the people that actually make the waste are paid billions of dollars to clean up the waste and store the waste and everything else, so they don't want solutions. They want the cash, Mm-hmm. And so, again, that's the problem. We need to really get educated and look into these things and how corrupt they are, and to say, hey, you know what, this is going to kill the planet if we let this greed and this unbridled, these people, their lust for power and wealth is just insatiable. It's unbridled. We have to take a good look at these people, who they are, what they're doing, and how it's affecting the planet, the Earth, and hold them accountable.
I really agree. I also think this is a fascinating time to look at, for example, to look at all the people that have come through on the implant removals. One of the core things that I bring to forth in the essences is to assist them in stepping into their mission. Okay? So it's like what I'm seeing across the board, all over the world, is this actual grid that's getting lit up, over here, over there, down here, and people are starting to, it's literally more of waking up to realize that something that you thought was really not a big deal, something that you thought that really wasn't contributing that much, is really a pretty big deal, because you are going to create a new way of dealing with that issue or problem. I'll give you an example. I had a guy call me one day. He had monstrous issues with an ex, and she was very psychotic, and his heart was broken because he didn't have access to his child. And she was playing the game of, holding the child back from him. And and he says, I really want to start a blog. I said, do you understand that when you heal yourself through this experience, you're healing like countless others, because it's vibrational. you're going to be attracting other people that are vibratorily going through that same experience. So we all need to understand it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter how psychic you are. It's wherever you are that you feel so much passion to try to either fix the problem or bring a resolution to it or have a different perspective. If you bring that forward, you're healing a ton of people.
Oh, yeah. I've got a few people I'd like to put in line for that one.
Yeah.
A few exes, I think, that could very much be of assistance there, in that program. But, it's sad because in my field, and all of us have experienced that, is that there is a lot of, like, Manchurian Candidate or monarchs or things like that out there, and things happening that people don't even know about by these unseen negative influences that will jump into those closest to you, even your family, and they'll do everything to turn your life upside down and divert you from your soul purpose and your path and just make your life a living hell. But a lot of them, I'm not saying this to create more division or separation. I'm saying we have to identify this as a problem. In each case, even some that I knew that were sent to me to create this situation, I still held space of being loving and supportive and assisting them in their healing process the best that I could. Some just couldn't break away, and some made choices, to go back into that system because it was all they knew, and it took care of them, that the old Archon network. And so,
James, I got to interject for a second. This is something that I was taught by a mentor. It changed my life. Quote, there is a difference between being part of your family or a part of a structure of relatives. There's a real difference. Most of the people that are listening to this interview, their families are probably pretty dysfunctional.
Yeah.
I should say they're relatives. Your true family is not typically who you grew up with. It's just not normal.
Yeah, Yogananda covered that. He said, you have your biological family and you have your spiritual family. And he said, you have to accept your biological family. If your brother's a thief, you have to accept that and do what you can to try to, divert him or maybe even separate yourself from that and let them, finish out whatever karma they've got. But he said you hang out with your spiritual family because they're the ones that feed you and assist you in your, evolutionary process.
Yeah, and build you and help you become all you can be to your ultimate potential. And that's what James and I want for everybody that's listening to this interview. Hey, James, we're getting to the top of the hour, so I wanted to tie it up with, do you have any last words of wisdom for what you think is coming around the corner in February?
Boy, I've been seeing, from February on, especially March, a lot of things unfolding. And, all the way into July, actually, I've been seeing a huge push, a lot of movement for people to wake up and stand up, and get in touch with their own divinity. That's happening very fast. And I'm seeing a lot of these programs that just aren't aligned with the new energies coming in, just being shaken to their core. This old grid is just being torn apart, and those who work within it, and there's a whole new grid being pushed in, pressing in very hard by these higher dimensional beings and by the universe. The whole universe is participating in this. So the 5D grid is pressing in very hard. So, the more that we can just surrender to this higher consciousness and energy and release the past and call out for help and, focus on love and joy and bliss. And I always tell people, make love, your practice in everything that you do. Love and kindness, and also set boundaries with those who are not practicing love and kindness. We need to do that just as well, and love ourselves at the same time, and love ourselves enough to set those boundaries and take care of ourselves, because some of us are so extended out. We're like batteries. We're leaking. We're looking for love and acceptance and approval outside of ourselves, and we're looking for all these other groups to take care of us. It doesn't work that way. We need to pull energies back in, because then we won't be these leaking batteries anymore. We'll be charged up and we can be empowered to fulfill our own unique soul purpose.
Hey, that's why they tell you when you get on a plane, you better put the oxygen mask on yourself first and your child next.
Exactly.
We got to stay strong. So thank you, James, for all you do. I just so honor your passion and the fact that you never stop. It just blows my mind. You're like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of us really esteem you, and from the standpoint of how much you've gone through to continue doing what you do. And so I really honor you for that. And I just want to thank everybody for listening tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email. And also visit James' website at worldpuya.net, right?
No, actually, eSETI.org is the best one.
Okay, the best one. Okay.
And there you can check into the other radio shows, World Puja or the BBS radio, and all the other things that we have going on.
Okay, cool. So you got it, everybody. Thank you. Have a great night, and you all take care and stand strong and be the masters that you are.
Aloha.
Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.